Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Model Routing Live channel. Who's Big Bill talking to tonight on July 28th, 2021? We have a special guest with us tonight. Flew all the way up from Virginia, I believe. Yeah, flew all the way up. We have him in the green room now, and I have to apologize to our guest. The green room, unfortunately, the air conditioning went out in it, so it's a little stifling in there. I know, but we did put plenty of water in there and stuff like that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that the sushi wasn't removed by our assistant. He's an intern, and I guess he didn't know. He thought it was fresh or plastic or whatever. But anyway, in that sense, we didn't get rid of the sushi, so it's been in that hot room for a whole week actually since last show. The air conditioning went out in the green room, so I wouldn't. If you've eaten it, we don't have any health insurance, so but we do have 911 we can call. So just hold on. Anyway, welcome to Who's Big Bill talking to you, broadcasted on the Model Railroading Live channel, the number one model railroading show in the world, if not the universe. And just want to welcome all Eric Hall into the stream, and Ron Bryce has just joined us. That's two, so we're doing good so far. Got two guys in. That's good. Just want to give you a heads up that John is still on vacation and will be until the end of August, where he'll come back with Johnny's Train Talk Show every Thursday. New and exciting things are being planned in the works at MRL. We have the Rail Empire. Those guys, the four amigos there, are working on new shows, new concepts, new ideas. We have others that are joining in with us who are creating content for us as we speak. Let's see. John Banachek is, hello, everyone. MR Eric Hall. I know all about broken air conditioners. I understand. I saw your dilemma there in Arizona, Eric. Will Dickerson, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Will. If not, please excuse me for butchering your last name up, Will. So, hello. Chris Lambert just found your channel. Hey, Chris, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy it. We're Model Railroading Live. As I said earlier, we're the number one model railroading show in the world, if not the universe. So, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. As we started earlier, before everybody came in, we have our special guest who flew all the way up from Virginia, and we have him in the green room. And last week we had Tina Marie Cowlett on, which was a great show, a good show, well received. And then right after she was, she left, the air conditioner went on a fritz. So we were sending, we had my friend Herb. He works down at the space thing down in Florida. What's that? NASA. He used to be a kosher butcher, but then he traded his job in to work as a technician down in NASA. So anyway, he came to look at it, and we couldn't figure out the problem. So we kind of left it thinking we could get some parts or get a new one, scratch some money together. John was out rummaging around the dumpsters around where he lives to see if somebody threw something out, but apparently we had no luck. But the unfortunate thing is we left the sushi in there in that hot room. And I'm just hoping that our guest didn't eat it. We'll find out in a minute. Tweety BBE, just a good friend to Tim. He just entered, or she. Hey, Tina's in the house. Took a break from work to listen to one of my favorite shows and host. Well, thank you so much. Check's in the mail, Tina. Check is in the mail. William A, what's up, everybody? Hey, William A, good to see you. Robert, good evening, Big Bill. Hello to you as well. And yeah, Eric Hall for you guys. Eric Hall, his channel is I Am RRO Com. He lives in Arizona, and his air conditioner went on the fritz. If you hadn't seen his video, you should go check it out. His air conditioner went on the fritz, and he was gonna call it for the season of recording until he got a new air conditioner. And apparently in his video he was stating how hard it is to get an air conditioner right now, and especially in Arizona. He said he could get one from the East Coast, but they wouldn't ship it out there. So he did finally secure one, and I believe he got one in. So that's good to know. Hey, Samurai, good to see you. Yes, it has been a while. It has been a while. Yes. Who else? Rail Artist is in the house. Yes. Good dog training. How is Tim's wife? Oh, hi, Tim's wife. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Good dog training. She's Tim's wife. She's Tim's wife. You got to get up pretty early in the morning to fool me. Anyway, without further ado, and I do hope he's not deathly sick. Please, God, don't let him eat that sushi. Let me introduce you to our good friend. And I know this guy for about 6-7 minutes. I saw him on Facebook. Let me introduce you to Tim McLaughlin. Oh, man, I am having a hard time. Tim McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. Tim, come on in. And we're having a little bit of a difficulty to get Tim in here, but we'll get him. There he is.
Hi there, Bill.
Tim, please. You didn't eat.
Hi, Bill.
You didn't have any of that sushi, did you?
No. Good. No, I saw it.
You saw it.
I was tempted. Yeah, but I was tempted, but I sat actually in the opposite corner of the room from it.
I do apologize for the green room and everything, and I'm so glad that you were able to make it, Tim, and finally be on the show. Just to give you a little background, I was on my Facebook page, and I was going through my Facebook, and I belong to one of these model railroading groups. Ralph Renzetti's in the house, and just to give you a heads up there, and I was and I came across this site with saw these buildings that were being made, and I read the story where these were buildings that were bought on eBay and then redefined, reclassified, rebuilt, and put on the layout. And I reached out to Tim and I said, "Hey, would you like to be on this show? On my show, on Who's Big Bill Talking To?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I don't know what I can offer because I just got back into I'm new a year and 8 months." And look, that's his layout behind him. A year and 8 months. That ain't bad, Tim. That ain't bad. So, we're good to have. So when did tell us a little bit about yourself and your intro into the model railroading hobby world?
Okay, well, I grew up in Norfolk, right near Norfolk and Western, Lambert's pier, and my dad and my grandfather both worked for Norfolk and Western at some point. And so my dad was keen on getting me a train set when I was very young. My brother had all the O gauge, and there was another gauge that he had as well. My dad got me HO. And I had a ball with it, but I played with it in several ways. I mean, I was like maybe 5 years old when he got it for me.
Sure.
So I played with it, but I wound up also rolling marbles down the track and things like that. So I didn't quite pursue it at that point. However, I did go down to the hobby shop and drool over all the brass locomotives then. This would have been in the late 50s and early 60s, and they had some beautiful models. But, of course, I couldn't buy something like that. But I always said that one day I would. Then when I was about 8 or 9 years old, we were in a neighborhood. We had moved to Virginia Beach, and in a neighborhood where it was much like Edward Scissorhands. It was just one street down one right after another, big, long, straight streets. And down one of the streets, I would go up and down these streets on my bike all the time. All my friends would. And I rode past these open doors to a double or four-car garage. And in it, I saw a table that spanned both doors, and I could have sworn I saw trains on it. So I boldly went up the driveway with my bike and stopped. And sure enough, there was a man in there in the center of this big, huge layout with trains. And it was a beautiful layout. And this kind man didn't mind an 8-year-old and his friends standing there watching him work on his layout. We were good kids. I was a good kid. We didn't touch anything. We just watched. And there were things about it that even today I tried to incorporate into my layout, like a nice straightaway coming into a curve that has 3 tracks running parallel. He had that, and it was so much fun to watch locomotives on it. So he really whet my appetite for it, but I really couldn't do anything with it until probably I was like 40 some years old, and Z-Scale came out, or maybe it had already been out, but I saw it. And I went, okay, this is something that I can do in a limited space. I was working pretty hard, and I felt like, but I can do a little bit of this. So I worked on the Z-Scale until I had a big change in my life, and then I stopped. I probably was into the Z-Scale maybe 2 years, and stopped at what I think Europeans call the Alpine stage. Mm-hmm. So everything was still styrofoam and just maybe some soft green grass I'd put on it. And I'd done a diorama where I tried to, use some of the techniques, a little tiny pond and stuff like that. So I was 52 when I stopped that, and I'm now 67. So at 65 and a half, 66, I started this hobby in HO scale, and have loved it ever since. I started off by sketching out number one, I knew where I was going to put it, and that was in a garage that I used for another hobby. Up until that point, I was into cars. And so I knew the space. I drew out a layout and felt pretty comfortable with it and happy with it. A friend of mine did the bench work, but what I did was I taped off the entire floor of the garage with my layout plan. And then I taped a barrier around it that represented where the edges of the layout would have to be. And he built it for me to that specification. So that's how I got into the hobby. That's how I started my layout, and I'm here now.
Yeah, here you are now, and exactly right. And how big is this? How big is the garage itself that you built it? Because we can see some of this layout behind you, but how big is the garage?
It's 15 feet by 22, 23 feet. Yep. And I go right up to the edge of the garage door. So I've taken up the entire space, wall to wall in both directions.
Okay, so but you don't use the garage, obviously, to put a car in anymore. The car's parked on the outside. Okay.
Well, I got out of sports cars.
Oh, so that was the other hobby.
And we have another 2-car garage that we keep our other.
Right.
Yes.
So now, is this a continuous loop, or is it a end-to-end layout?
Continuous loop. 3 main lines, surface level main lines. One's actually a hybrid. It goes up a little bit. And then I am working on one elevated and then another elevated that I have planned.
Oh, cool. So now we just have Frank DeLorio came in. He says, good evening. He says, just got off the golf course. What's up here? Well, what's up here, Frank, is we have our special guest, Tim McLaughlin, from Virginia, right, Tim?
That's correct. Mountains of Virginia,
Frank, and he's telling us about his layout in regards to his HO scale layout. Now, in regards to your HO scale layout, what type of track did you use to lay down?
I used micro engineering flex track,
Code
nickel
what?
silver.
Code 80.
83.
Oh, 83. Okay. And that's code 83 out throughout the hole, even in the yards as
Yes.
well?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
What I did in the yards differently was I didn't put a raised ballast bed. So the yards are flush to the surface
Oh,
of the
okay.
layout.
Okay. And what did you use as a sub road bed? Did you use homosode or
I
foam?
used cork.
Yeah. Is it over?
Oh, I'm sorry for the. I used styrofoam for
Well,
the
I'm sorry. What
surface.
did you use?
I used 2 inches of
Oh,
styrofoam
styrofoam.
on
Oh.
top of a 5/8
Oh,
inch
okay. Great.
plywood
Great.
board.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
And I can see to your right that that's the coal yard, or your left. Your
Over
left. Yes.
here. Yeah.
That is a very
Hmm.
impressive
Yeah.
yard.
That's Lambert's Point, or a representation of it. Well, thank you.
Now, could you give us a little history on that? What's that?
Lambert's Point.
Lambert's Point.
At one point, it was, yeah, no pun intended. At one point, it was, I believe, the largest coal terminal in the world. It supplied all the coal to the Navy during World War II on the Atlantic. And I don't know the tonnage, but it's an impressive tonnage that they move. Supposedly, they still do it. I think in Norfolk and Southern now, they still do that. And it's huge. I think there is one over in Newport News now that might be slightly bigger, but that's what it is. And I grew up just down the road from that. And it was an impressive sight. If you were to look at aerial shots of it, it is huge. So what I've done is, the term is compressed perspective or compressed realism. I took a
Yes.
representative part of the pier, of the coal staging area, and most of it is a flow through in Lambert's Point. But there's a small area that's held for staging, basically an overflow to all the flow through, and it's dead ended. So that's my rationale and excuse for being able to have 14 rails that dead end.
Right. Ralph Renzetti wants to know, is this layout freelance or is it a prototypical? Or is it a mixture of both?
It's a mixture of both. I've tried to take elements that are prototypical, but I'm sure anybody who is an expert on those areas could find many reasons why it wasn't prototypical. I
Right.
want to give a semblance of authenticity, but I cannot claim that it is, in fact, prototypical. A part of that problem is not only my lack of cognitive skills to be able to do that, but also I like so many different things that I can't discipline myself not to put a Pennsylvania Railroad S1 in the midst of my Norfolk and Western, because I love the locomotive.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I got what you're saying. Yeah. It has to be fun for you, and
yeah.
as well as entertaining. Now,
Yeah.
the era that you do your layout, and by the way, do you have a name for the layout, or is it?
I do, but it's only because I've been recently asked, and then I updated my YouTube channel. So I felt like, okay, I have to come up with a name. So it was an urban, or it still is, an urban layout. It started off in
It's
Norfolk, but then because of the elevated railways,
no. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
yeah, because I so loved elevated railways, I somehow had to bring New York City into it. And because I love things like the Electroliner, I had to bring Chicago into it. So there are little parts in here that can look like Wabash Avenue in Chicago, and then there are other parts that can look like Old Third Avenue in New York,
So
all
nice.
1930s.
Okay.
So, yeah. So because of its has 3 points: Chicago, New York, and Norfolk. Not really,
Right.
but just touching on it. I'm going to name it the Chicago, New York, and Norfolk Railroad. an ill-fated, short-lived merger just before World War II. And they went from 1935 to 1939, and then couldn't get along with each other and haven't spoken since.
So it's the Chicago, Norfolk, and it's the Chicago, New York, and Norfolk Southern.
Yes.
Chicago, New York, Norfolk. So it's
CNYNN.
okay, or CNN. CNN.
Well, I tried not to do that because I thought I might.
Right.
Yeah. I just thought it would have so many other connotations, and some people would love it and some people wouldn't. So I stuck the Y in there.
Right. You on Naked Force says, I love the Electra line and not enough traction modelers out there today. Yeah. What's your attraction to the L's in Chicago as well as New York City? I mean, that's a little unusual. You're like the first guy, I mean, other than the O scale guys who, model New York City.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You really, there's what's his name? New York Central. We had him on the show. He does the skyline, the High Line, New York City, NYC, New York Central, and he has the New York High Line there where they ran the trains above ground, but not subways. But you're interested in the subway system. Chicago L's and the New York City.
No, I'm interested in the
above ground. What's that attraction?
Yep. Is there? Exactly, all above ground. Well, I think it comes. Actually, I'm pretty sure it comes from this. I love film noir cinema.
Right.
And that means dark, sin cities with elevateds that rattle your room. That's got one window, a shade that doesn't work. And your office is also looking into, it's a Sam Spade kind of thing. Your office is looking into an elevated. Now, my period is before then, but film noir took its cues from Expressionism and Art Deco. So I feel like I can do that with this layout. So one of the things I try to do with my buildings is make them a lot darker than they were intended to be.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. I was just going to say that. Let's see. Eric Hall said the C, N, Y, and N scale model railroad by Tim McLaughlin now has 11 subscribers. I pushed it to 11 because 11 is one more than 10.
That's very good. Well, thank you.
And you are Naked Force.
Well, look at that.
Is that a C&O Streamline Hudson in yellow on your right side? It's rather hard to tell from a distance.
Oh, yes, it is. It certainly is.
Look at the keen eye. Look at the keen eye that our audience has. They spot that stuff out. I have to say,
you see the electroliner behind it or next to it? You can see the green.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The green
now
and
we
orange.
get a better view. Yeah, the green and orange. Very good. Very good. We're talking with Tim McLaughlin and his. How big is this layout again? 15 by
23, 22, 23.
23. People would kill for that space.
I'm fortunate, for sure.
Yeah. And how and doing this layout and working on it, has any other of your friends, neighbors been involved in this, or has this just been a solo?
The layout itself has been solo. A good family friend built the benchwork.
Oh, okay. So you had right.
Yeah.
And Mojave Model Railroad, Tina says, he's only been working on this thing for just over a year. Wow. That is correct? A year and 8 months, right?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't actually start laying track until a year and 5 months. Yeah, I had an error that cost me an entire month.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So, yeah, I made an error that cost me an entire month. So I had 2 months of design, and getting the bench work built. And then I couldn't start the layout for another month after that. And I think nearly ruined my knees in the process.
Well, yeah.
So you're going to ask me, so what did I do?
No. I am going to ask that, but I'm laughing because you make it sound like, oh, I made a mistake. Everybody in this room in this Q&A has done the same thing you have. I showed you my mistake over here
I did.
that I have to redo again. And you're saying,
won't take you a month to correct it, though.
Well, no, it didn't. But it was, it's you're not the first. You won't be the last. What was your mistake, by the way? Because everyone is sitting on the edge of their chairs as to what the mistake was.
Okay. Well, I thought I could be cost conscious and really smart, and I went to a construction business, a building supply place, and bought large 2-inch sheets of foam, insulation foam. And my friend and I laid it out on the fellow who did the bench work. We cut it and laid it out on the table. And he's a contractor by trade, by profession. And so he used industrial grade caulking, like what they'd use in a house, to adhere it to the plywood. And we got it in here, and I started eyeballing it and sighting lines along it, and I could tell it wasn't quite flat. And I'm like, oh, no problem. I'll take wall compound or something and smooth it over, and that just sort of made it worse. And so then he screwed screws into it for me to try to lower the places that were high. And after doing this over and over again, and I finally let him loose. I was like, you can't keep having to do this. You've got real work you have to do and a family to be with. So at that point, my friend left the project, and I'm looking at this blue insulation styrofoam that is awful. Now, I know people use insulation styrofoam, and I imagine that in other regions of the country, they make it to some kind of spec that you can actually depend on, but not the styrofoam that I was able to buy. So I had to rip it all up, and I went and bought 2-inch styrofoam from Woodland Scenics. So that was expensive. It was a lot of work. The biggest amount of work was getting that styrofoam up. First, remove all the screws. Then I had to rip it up, and the adhesive remained on the plywood in a way that I had to take scrapers to get it off. And I'm up on this layout for 4 weeks on knee pads, going around getting rid of all this adhesive. So that was 4 weeks of paying my dues.
Okay.
Before I was ever able to start having fun.
Right. You Are Naked 4 says, remember when foam was really, really cheap and gasoline was expensive? And
yes.
Let's see.
Yeah. Foam is not cheap.
No, it's not. It's far from it. But Eric Hall says, again, how did you, Bill, find this guy? Does Indian Head Valley know you snaked him as a new channel? That's absolutely right. That's right. Indian Head Valley Railroad usually finds all the guys that have been on my show. In fact, when I asked them, I said, I found you first. And they go, no, actually, Wilmer did from Indian. I was mentioned on his show, and he said, so you're actually the first guy that I got that wasn't on Indian Head Railroad's content page on his YouTube channel. I discovered you. Ooh!
Well, I'm honored and gratified. Thank you for
you're very welcome. Can't wait to tell Wilmer about this. Call him up after the show and let him know. Now, you brought along, we have some slides that we could show. Would that be all right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I
Sure.
believe your channel went up to 14 now. 14 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's strive for 1,000, folks.
Well, you told me it would.
Yeah, well, we'll get up there. Don't worry. Now that this channel's now up and running, right?
Yes, it used to be a sports car channel, so I had to remove the 102 videos for that, rename it, and I think I've got 28 videos up now. I've still got another 8 that are current that I want to put up, but I love making videos, and sometimes they're just for the heck of it to make something, just to capture something that's happening, and other times I try to be a bit artsy with it. So
That's all right. That's good. And what's the name of the channel again?
it is the CNY&N Scale Model Railroad by Tim McLaughlin.
Oh, okay. All right. So you guys out there, you heard that. Go over there and click the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell.
Thank you, Bill.
Tina Marie says that she had to buy 2 sheets of foam for a project I'm working on and had to take a loan out for it. I believe it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I told my wife, Tara, here's the mistake I made. Here's what I'm wrestling with, and here's what it's going to cost to repair it. And she said, go for it. You're not going to be happy unless it's perfect. So she supported me on the decision to completely redo it with styrofoam that I could depend on,
right.
The surface being flat.
Right. Well, Tara sounds like a keeper, bud. So, how long have you been married?
We've been married 41
God bless
years.
you. God bless you.
Going to be 42 come this December.
God bless you. God bless you. And that's good. And she's all in on the layout and the railroad and everything? Does she...
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
She's all in on the layout and
yeah.
everything?
Oh, yeah. She is of the spirit, if it's making me happy, it makes her happy. She has her own hobbies, and we support each other in our interests.
Oh, very good. What may I ask what her hobbies are?
Yes, she has a greenhouse and a huge monarch waste station and butterfly station garden area. And so that takes her time, and she works on that very hard. And it's expanded. We have decks that it's expanded to. But she also enjoys taking pictures. So she is an amateur photographer, but with all the real equipment. I also like taking pictures of my layout, but I do it with my iPhone.
Right.
But she knows how to capture a hummingbird and with its wings still.
Really?
Fly, Yeah.
Oh,
and things like that. Yeah.
That's very good. Good for her. God bless her. God bless her.
And also our dogs. That's her. She's a dog trainer, as you said. She is a retired dog trainer.
Okay.
Yeah, so as you saw what her handle was when she came on, good dog training.
Yes, good dog trainer. Yes. That's good. That's good. I'm glad to see you guys are you have a full, exciting life. That's good. You guys are doing some really good things there. And
we enjoy ourselves.
And you're both in love, I hope.
Absolutely.
There you go. I love that. I love to hear that stuff because that's good stuff. We can't get enough of that. Tina Marie, Mojave Model Railroad ask Tim, being in a garage, do you have issues with heat or cold, or do you have a dehumidifier in the room?
Well, I pampered my sports car. So I have a dehumidifier. I've got an industrial grade barn 220 volt heater on the ceiling that could heat a barn.
Right.
That's what it was meant to do. I have an industrial grade air conditioner over there that stays on all the time, if not for cooling, then for air conditioning. And I have 3 HEPA filters going. So that's on the dehumidifier. Did I mention that? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 circulation units. 1 to dehumidify, 1 to cool, 1 to heat, and the others to get as much dust out of the air as I can.
Right.
But I was doing all that for my automobile, for my car.
Transitioned into
I'm luck into the fact.
Transition.
Yeah.
Dan's model railroading journeys.
So it's very comfortable to be out here.
Cool. And all.
And I think it also probably takes care of the temperature control, humidity control for the layout.
And where you, in the section of the Virginia that you live, do you have all four seasons, or is it, you know? Sure.
Would you repeat that, please?
Where you
You broke
are
up.
in Virginia, do you have all four seasons and extreme weather, like cold, really, really cold, and
Yeah, we have all four seasons. I say in the mountains, we're actually in the foothills at the base of the mountains.
uh-huh.
So we get winters and we get spring, summer, and fall. We're seeming to have a little more summer and less spring and fall
Yeah.
lately, but we don't have anything that severe. Um,
Right.
so that's one of the reasons why I stayed here after school. I love the area, four seasons, beautiful. Everybody, the only thing is at that point, no one else knew what a great place it was. And over 4 years, everybody else has found out what a
Yes.
great place it is, despite the fact I said that there were snakes and snapping turtles. Don't come here. But,
They didn't listen. They didn't listen.
they didn't
I
listen.
know. You Are Naked 4 says, I insulated my workshop floor, walls, and roof with foam board. It cost a mint, but it's so energy efficient. I can heat in a 30-degree weather and heat it with a 500-watt floodlight, and it's 12 by 20. That's pretty good because the insulation helps. The absolute. So train.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is insulated as well. It's finished up and insulated. So is the
Yeah.
garage
Hey,
door.
Ari, if we could start that slide, those pictures that Tim sent, so that maybe we can get a sense of what his layout looks like, and he can comment on it because people are hammering the. Now, okay, so that's. Can you see that, Tim?
I can. So that is what I will say can look a little bit like Old Wabash in Chicago. It is 3 lines. One line is complete and is ascending. So you can see it behind the rest of the trestles. The trestles in front will carry 2 other lines that are level.
Now the buildings in the background.
This building, as you can see, there's a street going underneath the overhead.
The buildings in the background,
Yes.
are they flats as well as buildings that you worked on?
Yes. So in between the 2 tallest buildings in the back, that is a flat. And then everything beyond the dark building with the fire escape towards the right of center, those are flats, except for what's in front of them. And what's in front of them are 2-story borough kinds of buildings, which I'll have fruit stands in front of and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And did you modify any of those tall?
Yes, absolutely. So I hope I'm still on. You dropped out, Bill. I'll continue talking unless I need to come back in. We both know I've got terrible internet here. So, Ari, if you can hear me, go. There you go. Yes. So that tallest building in the center is a CRM building that a professional model builder made. It was damaged heavily in shipment. And so I tore it all apart and then put it back together, parts of it. And I cut out the back of it entirely and made it U-shaped. And it covers a post, a structural post in the garage. Let's see, all the windows are different than what the manufacturer had. And I made it very dark and very weathered. The building all the way to the left, a modeler built that entirely from scratch. And it is an actual hotel on the West Coast, the Hotel Cecil. And he made it as if it were in modern times. I took and pulled out all the windows. I made uh, uh, double hung sash windows and used blinds. I repainted and rebuilt the fire escape, cut out the back so that it would fit in the space, and made a number of other changes as well. The most striking one is it's no longer a light brick, it's all very dark. Ari, if you can hear me and see me, would you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. I'm assuming everybody else can see me because I can't see Bill anymore. Okay, this is just a close-up of letting you see the detail a little more and the shades. Each of those windows are individually done, shades at varying height. The other building there with the fire escape, the one that you see now, the dark building, I added that fire escape, again, darkened everything. It came as a flat, and so I built it into a full building. It was originally a Magnuson kit, the Victoria Falls Hotel, I believe. And somebody had just made it a flat and did it in a way that I wouldn't have done it again. It was all very bright and cheerful and red brick and no mortar lines. And so I worked on it to make it look like that. And that's what I've been doing. I've been reclaiming and repurposing old buildings, finding them on eBay. They've been damaged and they've been used for other things. Bill, was I on there the whole time?
Or you sure were. I was. No.
Right.
I was, unfortunately. My apologies to you, Tim, and apologies to the viewing audience. I just lost the internet and I just came back. So I do apologize.
Gotcha.
No, but I had
just don't. I often find out people stop listening to me or I'm just talking to myself. So I was very comfortable with that, but I'm glad to know that they heard everything.
No, let's continue with the slideshow, Ari. My fault. Please accept my apologies.
No. So Ari, the second slide, the one that we were just on, I'm not certain whether you can see it.
It's not up yet. We'll get there.
Okay. Mine have to go back to the first. Yes, go back to the first one if you would. There's one other thing I wanted to show everyone. Okay, there is a train line going in that is in the street. You can see it there just in front of that other track that's not ballasted or anything, sitting on styrofoam. So that is a line that goes under the elevated as well. So I have that line, the street, that track in the forefront, and then 3 elevated lines. And now this is what I also used these buildings for, Bill and everyone. I had a return track that I didn't want to be seen because I've got enough tracks there as they are. So this other track actually is inside those buildings. Those buildings cover that track. The train disappears way off to the right of the layout. It doesn't come back again into the left. As somebody watching it or viewing it in action, you wouldn't know that the train is going through those buildings. So there is a portal through each building. They're connected. There is actually a sleeve that goes around the opening so that the locomotive's light can't come out. I had to make certain I planned the inside so you didn't see the locomotive's light track through the building's windows. Yeah, the engineering is not difficult, but the engineering and to make certain the locomotive, my articulators and everything else still clear everything, and it's up against a wall. And there's a post there that tall building's covering. So all of those things combine to make it a little bit of a challenge. And every change I make, every building I add to it, I have to run several different locomotives through it to make, and passenger cars, to make certain I haven't made it so I can't run a train through it.
Right. I have to tell you that first and foremost, my good friend Frank Delorio says, hey, Bill, he said, welcome back after I came on. He says, welcome back to who's Big Tim talking to? So, yes. Tina.
Talking I can do.
Yeah, Tina Marie Mojave Model Railroad says, my train store always holds old buildings for me for free that I like to kit bash into other buildings. Always fun. Love these pictures of these buildings he is showing, that Tim is showing. And then she
Thank
further
you.
goes on. Yes, she further goes on and says, I love that idea of sending the loco into these buildings to save space and to hide it. That is a really awesome idea. Yeah. So let's move on
Thank
because
you.
these buildings, I tell you, I am looking for something to put into the corner of my harbor scene, and these scene. And where did you get these buildings, by the way? Just did you buy them?
I
I mean,
well,
wha-
yeah, most of them I bought from eBay, and they were distressed and in very poor shape or completely different than I'd want them to be. And so I rebuilt them. Often I tore them apart so that I could rebuild them the way I wanted them to be.
right.
And weathered them, painted them, weathered them. You know, I think the only original one completely is still kit bashed, but that I just took out of a couple of boxes of white plastic is that low relief building that's in above the dark building, slightly to the right of center, and right next to that tall building. So that's a low relief.
Right. And the one with the light, the reddish brick with the fire escape on it, that is a factory type warehouse building.
No, it's actually a hotel that I
Real?
sort of
Oh, okay.
made more into a seedier part of town flophouse kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
continue with some more shows.
Okay. So this is just
I,
giving you a close up.
I love this. I truly do. The
Thank
foreground
you.
of the foreground of the L, and then the buildings in the back. That's actually what you would see.
Thank you.
Good perspective. Very
I
good
use
perspective.
lots of photographs. I mean, that's what I use. I have hundreds of photographs to try to pull different ideas from, authentic photographs from the period. So,
Our good friend
okay.
Ralph, our good
Yes.
friend Ralph Renzetti right now is fist pumping because you are using photographs. He's a big proponent of using photographs.
Oh, good. Well, and my one of my daughters, who's a professional artist, said, "Why don't you take pictures of what you're doing, and you can often see what you shouldn't be doing or what doesn't work." And so I also use these pictures that I'm showing you to give myself a critical eye that's different than standing there by the layout. So I often make changes based on, but that just
Right.
doesn't look right in the photograph.
Right. Next.
Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, this is the same scene with, you can see the tracks on the trestle, and the cars underneath. And I just like this picture because of the fire escapes and the electroliner and the cars. And you can see how the support structures are fitting into their various areas. All of those are kit bashed, by the way, too, using several manufacturers' parts, as well as me creating some from scratch.
That is a very realistic look. I
Thank you.
love on that hotel, that old hotel, that the entrance to that. I love the fact of how that looks.
Thank you. Now,
Yeah.
this is also an old picture, so there are no windows. You can see one window there at the top left corner
Yes.
of my double hung sash that I made. All those windows now are populated.
I have a question from You Are Naked. You Run Naked for. Is that Electroliner a Concorde model or is it brass?
No, it's Concord
It's Concorde.
and upgraded to DCC sound and lighting. And it runs
And
like a dream.
oh, okay. Mojave Model Railroad. Tina wants to know: is that brick building a flat with a pitcher, or brick you weathered on a model?
Okay, would you repeat that, Bill? You
I'm
broke up a
sorry.
little bit.
Is that Tina from Mojave Model Railroad says
Mhm.
is asking: is that brick building a flat with a pitcher, or brick you weathered on a model?
brick that was applied to a three-dimensional model, and then weathered.
And say again, refresh my memory. You've only been doing this for a year and 8 months, right?
That's correct.
Remind me never to sit down to play Texas Hold'em with you, poker. Okay.
Well, thanks for that compliment.
Well, you're quite welcome. You Run Naked Force is asking, will you be adding overhead wire or a third rail system to the L?
Yes, I'm intending to put third rail. The complexity of overhead wire is, there's certain things that I'm saying to myself, don't get into that until later on or another layout sometime. I can see making changes to this over time, and I may do overhead in the actual city part. There is a city over here to my right that I'm going to have a small, like, oval streetcar, and I may put overhead there, but then I've got buildings to suspend it from and everything. But as far as what you're looking at, I'm not intending to put overheads. It will be third rail. That's a simpler solution for me.
Can we, Ari, can we go to the next photo, please? Oh.
That's to show you what I did with that Victoria Falls Magnuson kit that someone had as a flat, but I didn't have the kit, so I made the three-dimensional part of it myself, added the fire escape, and did all the weathering, painting and weathering.
Excellent. Excellent. Were those ornament over the window when you got it, or did you?
Yes, it's part of the resin mold.
It's part of the resin mold, and then you just added the fire escape and then weathered the building itself.
Yes, exactly.
I love I love the fact that the window frames themselves, like you painted them all red. Tweety BPPE says amazing! Exclamation point.
Thank you, Tweety.
And stuff. So the next, yeah, there. Oh. Oh.
So this is my tip of the hat to the kind of photography I like to do, and it's reminiscent of film noir, but it's expressionism and Art Deco with these angular dark features. So think Metropolis or Gotham City.
Right.
Is what I've tried to do with all my buildings, and so I took this picture to sort of accentuate that.
All very impressive.
This is me having fun. Thank you. That's my 20th century. That's my MTH 20th Century Limited, New York Central, that I photographed and then I tried photographing it as the original poster, and then used the elements of the poster, the text and everything to complete it.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Chris Lambert says, if that was the Cecil Hotel, you need a water tank on top.
Oh, there is one. Back up, Ari. There you go, right above the fire escapes. It's not in the location of the Cecil Hotel. I put it there so it was more visible.
Yeah. There we go.
The hotel, now, here's a story about that hotel. That hotel has an incredibly bad history. It was built in 1929. It was supposed to be a almost posh hotel. It was supposed to be for travelers, but they decorated it as if it was posh. And then the Depression happened. The stock market crashed, and then the hotel started to be called the Suicide Hotel, and it got a very bad rap. Then murders started occurring, and then it actually became, I didn't realize this, there really was a Skid Row, and it was there, and in Los Angeles, and this was the center of it. They've tried to revitalize it since then, but I didn't know any of this when I acquired the model, Bill. It's like, oh my goodness. Look what I've stepped into. So apparently
Yeah.
there are all these programs, documentaries on the ghosts and the murders and everything else there. I didn't know any of that. So some people will see it and think that I've come up with something, macabre, and it really
No.
isn't meant to be that. I'm just
No.
making a 1935
Yeah.
hotel.
Right. Exactly. No,
But
I don't.
but that
I don't.
viewer identified the tanks, and they're famous. So
Let's see. Drew Dudes Model Trains and Yankee You Are Naked You Run Naked 4 says all these buildings are super impressive. Uh, for our good friend Jerry, could you tell what your YouTube channel, because you just changed over and we didn't get a chance to get it down, but could you let us know what your YouTube channel is so that.
yes, it's the C, and it's BCNY and scale model railroad by Tim McLaughlin. So the CNY and scale model railroad by Tim McLaughlin.
Right. At the end of this, we'll put it in the description before we put the what do you call it up. But
Thank you.
hey, no problem.
Here is another, by the way, here's another attempt to copy a poster by the New York Central.
Okay,
So,
this looks really good.
Again, that's a 20th Century Limited on the left. Thank you. And on the right is the Empire State Express.
Nice, very nice. Chris Lambert says that 2 years ago they found the body in the water tank.
Yeah. That's why I said the tanks are pretty famous for recent.
Yeah. So,
unfortunately. Yeah.
do we have a next shot there, Harry? Oh, that's sweet.
Here's another. Thank you. Another attempt to copy this. In this case, it was a promotional photo by Chrysler. That is an Airfloat, the automobile, and they likened it to the M10,000. And of course, promoted it by showing it with pictures of the M10,000.
Now, the layout yourself is the era is 1935. So
Yes.
obviously you're running steam engines. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And
And
how
I have
many?
some anachronisms for sure. So
How many? What's the roster of your steam? How many do you have of steam engines?
steam engines that run and are decent, I have 15. Then I have 18 mediocre, and then another 41 that I intend to revamp and rebuild like I've done the buildings when I have
Okay.
the time to do so.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So the next one? Oh, this is even sweeter.
Well, that's the Zephyr pulling out of the terminal.
Is this brass?
And this is another, no, it's another Contour. So,
Uh-huh.
and I love the streamlined locomotives. So these are the only non-steams I have.
Right.
The M10,000 that you saw, the Electroliner, this, and I also have a Comet that may be in one of these pictures. I'm not certain.
Next one, okay.
Oh, there we go. There's the Comet in the center. So this is them pulling away from the station. As you can see, there's the Norfolk Terminal Station. That doesn't look anything like the Norfolk Terminal Station from 1935, but I wanted it to be more like Grand Central Terminal. Doesn't look quite like that either, but there are aspects of it,
Sure.
both with the going underneath and the columns. And of course, there's a road in front of it that's packed with traffic. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's filled with taxis and other cars. Yeah, so this, like I said, this started off as Norfolk and now has become the Chicago, New York, and Norfolk Railway. So.
All right. Mojave Model Railroad, Tina says, the Zephyr is one train I don't have. I want just because.
Yeah, I wanted it just because too.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal thing. Now, here's here's a factoid about it. Of course, it was built. It was first came out in 1935, but that light on top was added, and I think it was added just after World War II, like 1945. So they claim this is the 35 version. Concor does, but they put that. I can't. It's a Mars light. I think I've remembered correctly, and that's so it could be seen because there was an unheard of number of accidents with the Zephyr. Apparently, it would come upon you at road crossings without you knowing it was there. It was quiet. It was fast. And I also understand that it was so fast it would outrun the signal to the barriers that would come down, and it would go flying through the road crossing before the barriers dropped.
Wow. Can we have another one?
Okay. Two Pennsylvania Railroad T1s, like I told you before. Yeah, but if I like the locomotive, it's going to be part of my layout. This is an example of me buying one locomotive and then finding out, my goodness, somebody makes one that has smoke. So,
right. Betty Bingham says, "Wow, just wow."
Thank you, Betty.
We got the next one, Harry. I love. Yeah, this is a great shot, man. This is so. Ralph Renzetti says, "I want the M1000." I have seen the Zephyr in real life. Very cool.
That's neat. I've never seen one in real life. How cool is that?
Yeah. This is a great shot. This is a great photographic shot. It really is. It has all the components and all. It's not too busy, but busy enough to give you the industrial feel with the city in the background.
Thank you. And you can see it's still under construction. Only parts of it are ballasted.
Right. Well, yeah, sure. No. Where did you get
Bill, you were asking me. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You were asking me about how I did my yards. So you can see the tracks that are going around a turntable. You don't see the turntable. You can see that they're just flush with the surface, and the ballast comes level with it.
Right.
So that people aren't tripping over the ties, is my understanding, is what they do in some yards.
Very true. That is exactly right. You're exactly right.
Where did you get the foreground? You see the regular mainline ballast.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Where did you get the components for the L? To make
that came from several different manufacturers that I bashed. So it came from Micro Engineering. I used their city viaducts, which aren't meant to do what they're doing here. I used some parts of their support system, again, are not meant to be doing what they're doing here. I used Plastruck, are they called Wilson trusses? A particular kind of truss with a triangular support inside. Let's see, what else? Central Valley, some parts from that. And then I scratch built the footings from lucite that I cut and beveled and painted.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. The whole thing was built in cardboard initially. So I'm definitely a somebody who models the model before I build the model.
Yeah, that's a talent within itself to do that. Why
I had to do that for templates to be able to cut the pieces the way I needed them to be.
You Run Naked Force says, Tim, you need to sell some photos to Micro Engineering. Fantastic work you have there, and a good showcase of their great products and your photographs. Compliments them.
Well, thank you very much. It's Micro Engineering bridge track as well. So
yeah.
And everything else is Micro Engineering track. So
yeah. Ralph Renzetti says, Tim, you need to visit Imagine That Laser Art website, because they actually do sell the components and the structures for the L's.
Oh, okay.
I will after the show, I will email you their website. so that you can look
Thank
at
you
it.
very much.
You're quite welcome. Next one. I love that photograph. I love
I'm
it.
glad you do. Thank you. That
Oh, this
actually
is
comes from a video, but
uh-huh.
continue. Yeah.
Okay, next.
This is go back, I think, right to the street scene.
Oh, street scene.
There,
Okay.
that's my first attempt at populating a scene with people.
Where did you get the figures?
It's the figures are Pricer, which I found to be about the best representation
For the era?
that actually looks real. Yep, for the era. Now that is just a facsimile. Again, this is a model prior to doing the model. So there's no weathering on the sidewalk or the street. The car isn't weathered. The building has a little weathering, but I just set that up to see, am I able to get these people to look relatively realistic? I find people to be probably, I'm thinking they'll be my biggest
Uh-huh.
challenge. Automobiles are a challenge too. I'm trying to get away from things looking toy-like. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, it represents the scene. It's a good representative of the era too, because all the men are wearing hats, which is what
Yep.
they did back then. They all wore hats. Chris Lambert,
Yes.
with cell phone, take pictures of old buildings when just driving around. They're all around us. Yes, that's true. They are.
Yeah.
Mojave Model Railroad, Tina says, regardless of the era, there is something special about black and white photos when it comes to trains.
I agree with that.
I have a good friend who's a professional photographer in the business for quite a number of years, and he loves to photograph in black and white. And when I asked him why, he said color. He said color is good. It gives you the real. It gives you what you're seeing in color, and it's stark and it's right there. He says, but with black and white, there are 99 shades of gray that you can play with. He says,
I agree.
And it gives you it gives you a more realism, you know.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I love doing the black and whites also. I don't know how many I have here, but nearly every photo you see here, I've also played with it in black and white. And
Right.
sometimes I'm encouraged to, well, show the color because that's pretty cool too. So,
Right.
but I like the black and white, and it of course emulates that film noir. So.
Yeah, you run Naked Force says you can tell that your era you model is pre-COVID. No HO people have masks on. So yes, this is
That's right.
way before. This is before the
Yeah.
war and during the
Yeah.
Depression. So next one, Ari. This is a nice
So
one.
here's another black and white, and it's a J coming out from under the station.
Right, and I tell you that American Hardware building, that's a Walters building, am I correct?
That is correct. It's no longer in that location, and I should probably tell you something about location.
It was
yes,
it was
and redid.
oh, okay. It looks good there. But you play around with it,
Well,
you
thank
move
you.
it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even the buildings over there where the elevated are, those are starting to become, this is where these buildings are. I built them specifically for the location, but they're not glued down yet. And they may not need to be, but I still need to have a sidewalk slip under the fronts of them. And so all the buildings on my layout are subject to finding a better spot for them or a different building. So.
Right. Legend Drive RC, he's put emojis up to You Are Naked, so laughing, hysterical. Mojave Model Railroad, Tina says, I have a very awesome modeler tell me to photograph your layout in black and white. It will show the flaws you have in the scenery with shadows and depth.
Yes, that's a technique I in fact use. My oldest daughter told me to do that, and I do find things that I need to change. It's a very effective way to view the layout, study it in a way that you won't have the opportunity standing next to the layout.
Oh, sure, because your perspective is clouded by your own, you don't see the flaws,
Yes.
and if you do, you
Yeah.
tend to overlook them. But you run Naked Four says, I was going to ask if you, he says, I was going to ask you, Tim, if you had a Class J after seeing the other locomotives, a beautiful locomotive.
Yeah, it is. It's a Norfolk and Western's pride. Of course, I was modeling Norfolk and Western. Unfortunately, it comes 20 years after the period I'm modeling, but I don't care. I love the locomotive, and it's going to tootle about with the rest of them.
Ari, we got a next one. Oh, this is a nice.
Thank you. This is just an articulated pulling out of the yard very early in the morning.
Yeah.
So you can see
one.
I like the black and white. So
yes.
Well, back up. Again, black and white. Giving you a view of the yard, the coal yard.
Yeah.
Currently, they're all filled, but in there, I hadn't acquired yet all filled cars.
Okay.
So
next. Well, that's a good one.
This is called night shift, and it's the last shift for this electroliner.
Okay. Nice. Next.
Another black and white, another view of the coal yard. And they show views of that and where the elevateds are and the front of the train station, because those are relatively completed working model areas. As opposed to showing you the harbor, which is still white styrofoam with an oversized cardboard bridge going across it.
Right. Next. Oh, that's pretty.
Now, this is showing you, I'm sorry, thank you. This is showing the actual 1929 photograph of the actual holding area for the Lambert's Point coal yard. And that's my rendition of it down below.
Nice. Very good. Very good. Very well done. Next. Oh.
Another black and white. I call this darn thing won't start again.
Darn thing won't start again. Yeah. That's a beautiful engine too.
I weathered that engine. That's my first attempt at weathering. It's just an old broken locomotive, doesn't run. And I weathered it to see if I could weather a locomotive.
Very good. Next. And that's it.
Oh, that may have been it. Okay.
That may have been it. You know, Tim, I have to comment on the fact that you said you were going to run engines that you liked, you know, even though they don't fit the scheme of your layout or the error of your layout. But Chris Lambert comments and says, very, very nice work. Very nice work.
Thank you.
But to continue what I was saying, we've had a differential of people who got on and they would say, well, my layout is this era, and even though I like that train or that boxcar, I'm not going to buy it, even though I like it, because it doesn't fit the era of my layout. So, you know, and I do, with all due respect, you know, you respect that, you know, but I like again, I like this. I like the attitude
Absolutely.
that you have that, hey, I like it. It may not fit what I'm doing, but I like it, and I'm going to run because I'm going to enjoy the hobby for what it has given me and the fulfillment that it has given me, and I'm going to run it. And that's a very good, you know, take on it. To each his own. Again, you know, they're the rivet counters out there. You know,
I completely respect the other. I mean, doing a museum diorama to the T, I'm completely wowed by that. I would suggest that one of the reasons I'm doing it for fun is because that may be the level that I can do.
But this is true. Will Dickerson, I hope I'm pronouncing that again right. Tim is a true artist, he says.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that.
Do you know Will?
I know Will. He and I have known each other for a long time.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah.
Does he live in your area?
He does. He lives on the other side of the town that we live next to, but
he and I
had business associations.
Okay, so
in
Will, when
each of
you
our
head over,
respective careers.
right? So Will, when you head over there, bring a 6 pack of Sam Adams, and you're pretty. Will, I have to say you're pretty fortunate because you can go over and visit that layout. I wish I was that close
Absolutely.
to visit.
Absolutely.
So I hope, Will, this encourages you to get over there and see this layout. And are you going to do? Do you do operations on this, Tim?
As far as running trains,
Yeah, as far as running trains, operating meaning, are you prototypical
yes.
operating?
Yeah, no, not like that. As a matter of fact, I remember at the beginning of the hobby hearing or reading the description of two different ways to go about doing this. And I fit in one of them. And I'm sure there are many ways to slice and dice it, but this description was there are some who build and run railroads, and then there are some who build dioramas that they run trains through. I'm the latter. I like to build dioramas that have trains in them. And
And this
I like to run
diorama,
them. So I definitely run them, but not
right? So
prototypically.
this diorama is a 15 by 20, to which
Yes.
you to
It'll
which
keep
you have a
me
lot of fun,
busy, keep me off the streets for a while.
right?
Yeah. I will
Sure,
relate one other
by all
thing about
means,
me,
please.
and it relates to redoing these buildings. And it's funny, I didn't think about it when I first started rebuilding these buildings, but towards the end of my career, our organization had grown to such an extent that we needed to find a new location. And so we bought, and this is, I mean, we bought an old hospital. We bought a hospital where in the middle of the city, in the middle of the town, because the community hospital moved out to a hill nearby, beautiful campus. But we took the old urban hospital, 5 buildings on a couple of acres, and we rebuilt them to our offices. Completely stripped them down to the concrete slabs in between the girders, and then built the entire thing again. So that was
Right,
my real life experience in it. I
right.
didn't have to weather it. That was the easy part.
That was the end. Yeah. Ralph Renzetti says, Bill, this guy Tim has upset the model railroad gods a year and a half. It's unheard of. It is
Thank
unheard
you.
of.
Thank you, Ralph.
You're right. Zach Senecal heard this from the Twitter article, and he just joined us. Zach, welcome. Uh, absolutely. And Ralph Renzetti wants to know, Tim, what do you do, or what did you do for a living?
Okay, I was the CAO and before that CFO of a global organization that happened to be centered in this town, even though it's not a large town, because it had started off 40 years earlier as a University of Virginia business school project. And so I did that for 17 years and retired. Couldn't find myself completely retired, so I volunteered my time to the University of Virginia Physicians Board for 2 years, and found out that was too much like working for nothing. And and so I stopped doing that after feeling like I'd made some contribution to it. And so my career has been centered around administration and finance.
Oh, okay. Okay. And now you're enjoying the fruits of your labor and enjoying your retirement and working on your
Yes,
layout. A year and 8 months, folks. Don't
exactly.
say, you guys that are sitting out there in your armchair saying someday. Doesn't matter if you have the space that Tim has or a shelf, you can do it. Absolutely, you can do it. Tim, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and your life and sitting down with me and with the rest of us here at Model Railroading Live. And thank you so much. This was very, very enjoyable and very entertaining and very knowledgeable. And the work that you're doing and the work that you have done in a year and 8 months, man, you really are putting a lot of guys think you and You Are Naked says, modelers like Tim have inspired me to rescue old used models to rebuild and improve or kit bash with. Many years before, I would have only bought new models. Now I'll go to the bargain bin first.
Good.
So,
I look at it as taking someone else's loving work and extending it to another life, because there might have been unfortunate circumstances why it wound up on the market, or whatever, or natural course of life. And so I like to think I'm bringing another life as well. And I have to
well,
tell you, Bill, it was a pleasure, a real delight to do this with you. You're a kind gentleman, and you
well,
have
thank
a
you.
respectful audience, and this is just a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, my uncle Sal, who's a retired New York City sanitation worker, once would always say to us when he would came home from work, would say, well, one man's junk is another man's gold.
Yeah.
My uncle Sal was the kind of guy that if you wanted a pink toilet top for your yeah, no, he was. And you had that pink. You remember back in the 50s, everyone had a
Yes.
pink bathroom. And if it broke, and you said to my Uncle Sal, they'd come up, they say, Sal, you think you could find me one of the, on the top of the pink? And I go, yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. And sure
Oh,
enough,
funny.
he'd come home and he'd have that pink toilet top. So that
Christmas
was it.
mornings must have been a hoot with him.
Yeah, well, he was a pretty funny guy, Sal. So anyway, again, thank you for being on the show, Tim. Don't leave. We'd really like to continue our conversation off air. But again, thank you so much for being on the show with us and enjoying this time. It was great to see your layout and great. And
Well,
thank your
thank you.
wife Tara so much for allowing us this hour and
I
time
will.
with you. And you know what? Uh, you know, let us dedicate this show to uh, your dog, and it may sound
Oh,
really corny, but Cindy Lou, right?
that's correct.
Cindy Lou, he
She
just lost
passed.
Cindy Lou. Yeah, she passed. They're in the process of getting another dog, a little puppy that's coming their way, and so Cindy Lou was with them for quite a number of years and helped Tim and his wife through some really difficult medical times. And we'll just dedicate this show to Cindy Lou because good dog is always a good dog, and you'll never miss them. You can't replace them, but they're always good and they're always in
Thank
our
you, Bill.
hearts. So, hey, you be well, you be safe, and you be blessed. For the rest of you guys out there, remember, we're going to be taking a little time off. I'm sorry, Tina. I'm sorry. Really, Tina, I'm sorry. But anyway, we're going to be taking some time off. Not a long time, just because we're coming up on the Labor Day weekend, and we got some things in the Graham household uh, that we got to take care of. You know, summertime things. Well, what can I tell you? And so we might not be on till after Labor Day or the week after Labor Day. Not that one. Am I making sense? Anyway, we'll be back. But I want to thank you guys for being and watching Model Railroading Live. Like I said, John is still on vacation. He'll be back in September with a whole new format, a whole new way of his guests, and might have some surprises for you. And we also will have the Rail Empire guys back there right now, brainstorming as we speak. They're writing things down on paper, tearing them off, throwing them in the garbage, going through gallons of coffee, and coming up with new ideas and stuff like that for you guys. All shows on Model Railroading Live are at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we hope to have a guest in the near future in September. I won't mention it because we're still in the works with them. Pretty big guy in model railroading up there, and stuff. Really nice guy, too. Really great guy. So we're just trying to work out the time and the logistics for him to be on our show. Let's see. Uh, Tina says, are you starting a Big Bill support group with withdrawals? Hi, my name is Tina, and I'm a Big Bill, who's Big Bill Talking To fan, and he hasn't been on. Yes, I am. No, it's not Ron Marsh, Eric Hall, but that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. I think we should get him back on here. He was on our show way, way in the beginning when we were on. So anyway, I'm talking too much. I'm rambling. The guys are tired. They want to go home. I want to thank Ari and John Mitchell for their production and direction, and they did a great job. And I want to apologize again for jumping out of the air there. My internet went out, so I do apologize. Anyway, We will see you on the radio. So you be well, you be safe, but most of all, you be blessed out there, okay? And remember, without you, I'm just talking to dead air. So thank you for being a part of the show. You're just as important as our guests are as well. So thank you. God bless. Be well, be safe, be blessed. We'll see you on the radio. Oh, and Rod Stewart. I forgot. Rod Stewart was supposed to be. Thank you, Tina. Rod Stewart was supposed to. Forget it. Good night.